what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review. And today we're taking a look at the brand new Mafex Dark Knight Returns Superman. And I'm very excited about this figure because I was a big fan of the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Batman figures and the Mafex Hush Superman, so I just know this thing is going to be awesome. I've been really looking forward to this. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of the Dark Knight story, but I'm a sucker for the artwork and any figures based on the designs. So yeah, I'm super hyped up about this. But let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with the packaging. You are able to see Superman through the window along with the accessories. Up front, we get a look at Superman holding the arrow, and then his face is all messed up from the gas. On this side, it does say Dark Knight Returns. On the side of the box, we get a look at Superman being awesome. On the back of the box, we get a look at the figure in a bunch of different poses, showing off what he could do, showing off some of the accessories. On this side of the box, we're able to see the figure one more time, and that's about it for the packaging. It is collector friendly and all that good stuff. You are able to remove Superman and put him back in the box as you please, and I like the Mafex boxes because they don't take up a whole bunch of space, so I like to keep them, and that's where I keep all the accessories for the Mafex figures. And yeah, they're easy to store and all that good stuff, so I'm a fan of the way that Mafex packages their figures. But enough about the pretty box. Let's go ahead and get Superman out and take a look. And so here we have Superman right out of the box, and I've got to say, as soon as I took this figure out of the packaging, I was instantly in love with it. Once again, Mafex absolutely destroyed it. This thing came out awesome. And you know, in my opinion, nobody does better 6-inch comic book action figures than Mafex. Whether it's Marvel or DC, Mafex is always killing it when it comes to the comic book figures. And I think there's maybe two that I'm not crazy about. The first Batman Hush figure, and then Hush himself. But aside from those two, I can't think of any other Mafex figures that I wasn't just like blown away by when it comes to the comic book stuff. When it comes to like movie things, I feel like they have some competition with Hasbro and even with like figure arts and stuff like that. But when it comes to comic book stuff, they're untouchable. They're always going above and beyond, and Superman is no exception. Look how awesome this guy is. Looks like he jumped right out of the Dark Knight Returns comic. He's got that bigger, beefier kind of look. He's very muscular. The head sculpt is perfect. Just everything about this figure is extremely well done. And as far as I'm concerned, there's really only one small issue I have with this figure, and that's something to do with the cape, and we'll talk about that later. And it's not a big issue. It's really just a matter of preference. But aside from that one thing, I really feel like this figure is like perfect. They did a great job. Oh, and speaking of the cape, man, they continue to improve when it comes to soft goods. The Doctor Strange cape was ridiculous, but there's a whole lot of stuff going on, and it's kind of easy to showcase how good they're getting with the soft good stuff with that figure. With Superman, it's very basic, you know. It's just a very basic cape, but it's so well done. The material feels real nice. It's got a bendy wire that goes through the entire lining, and it's just really, really well done. It's such a good looking cape. And you know, Mafex didn't always do the best job when it comes to soft goods, but they just continue to improve. And I feel as far as just like basic capes go, this has to be one of the best ones I've seen from Mafex. But yeah, look at that. Such a great figure. And the sculpting work on Superman is extremely well done. Once again, Mafex did a perfect job of translating a specific look from the comics into plastic form. And just look at this head sculpt. A lot of great details, some really nice paintwork. Look how clean the eye is. That is awesome. Perfect facial expression for this version of Superman. Looks like he's ready to whoop Batman's ass. I love it. And then the hair looks really good too. It's black with a little bit of blue and gray highlighting. And then we have that piece of hair that's coming off the front of the head there. It's looking pretty crazy. But yeah, I love this, man. This is a great looking head sculpt. And very accurate to the source material. And then moving down onto the rest of the body here, starting with the symbol on his chest, you could see that this is very clean and very well done. It is sculpted on there, but the sculpt isn't super deep or anything. So yeah, that's really well done. And I like that it's yellow. On the Hush Superman, the symbol was a little bit like beige kinda. And I heard that they kind of changed it with like subsequent releases, but on the first run it was a little bit beige. But on this, you know, right away it's yellow and perfect. So I love that. And then there's a lot of great muscle definition and stuff like that. It all looks really nice. Checking out the belt right here. You can see that there's some like sculpted wrinkles along with the muscles and everything. So yeah, that looks awesome, man. Not a whole lot going on. You know, it's Superman. It's a really well sculpted Superman figure with some great details and stuff. You can see the boot is sculpted on there. And then taking a look at the cape, we've got the S on the back that looks really good. Look at that, man. This cape is awesome. Look at that material. It looks really good. Up here, though, I feel like they could have maybe like folded that under because it does look a little bit rough. Not super bad or anything. Not distracting whatsoever, but I think it would have been a better way to do it if they would have kind of like just folded that under. But you know, it's not a big deal, but that's one thing I feel like could have been executed a little bit better. But aside from that, this is like a perfect looking Dark Knight Returns Superman. And then now for accessories, Superman does come with two different heads. This is the first one. We've already taken a look at it. I think it's a great looking head sculpt. And then the alternate head is very similar, but this time around, he looks, I guess you could call it battle damaged? I don't know. This is after like the gas hits him in the face. And I think this is a very cool head sculpt to include, so I'm glad they threw it in there. It would have been nice if there was one more head sculpt that just looked angry without the battle damage on it. I think that would have been cool, but as it is, I like the two heads that he did come with. And then he does come with 5 different sets of hands. First off, we have a pair of fists, and then we have a set of open dramatic hands. We have a set of open relaxed hands, and then we have a pair of hands that are flat that could be used for like flight poses and things like that. And the final set is a pair of gripping hands, I guess you could call them. They're basically just a pair of fists with a hole in the center of them so you could stick the kryptonite arrow into the fist. And then he does come with the kryptonite arrow, and there's really not a whole lot going on with this, but it does the job. There's some nice sculpting work in there, and I like how you could take this off so that you could slide this into Superman's hand. So yeah, this is a good accessory. Now all we need is a Mafex Dark Knight Returns Green Arrow, and then we'll be set. And now for some size comparisons. Here we have Superman alongside the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Batman and the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Armored Batman. And I think these figures look amazing together. But I was surprised to see that Batman looks like he's a little bit bigger than Superman. And I don't know if that's 100% accurate to the comic. I know that in the Dark Knight Returns, both characters were drawn in a very stylized, big, over the top with a whole bunch of muscles kind of way. So, I mean, I know that both characters were really big, but I just don't know if Batman was bigger than Superman. I feel like they were closer to the same size, so maybe the scale here isn't perfect, but I still think this looks amazing, and my whole Dark Knight display is going to center around the Mafex Dark Knight Returns figures. So, I do love the way they look, even though I don't know if I could say this is 100% accurate scale to the comic. And then next up we have Superman alongside the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Triumphant Batman and the Mafex Dark Knight Returns Robin. And then next up we have him alongside the Mafex Hush Batman and the Mafex Hush Superman. And damn, at this point, Mafex has given us like the best Superman figures that you could buy. Between this Dark Knight Returns version and the Hush version, I don't know if there's any better Superman figures out there. And then now here we have him alongside the NECA DC vs. Dark Horse Superman and the Mezco 112 Collective Superman. And I really like this NECA version. Even though it's on a base body that they've used for a bunch of different characters at this point, I think that's a pretty good Superman figure. And then the Mezco one, you know, I liked it when it first came out, and there's still things that I appreciate about it, but it hasn't really held up very well over time. I look forward to the redo that they're going to put out pretty soon. I think that's going to be a really great figure, but we'll see. Hopefully it comes out nice. And then here we have Superman alongside the McFarlane Toys Dark Knight Returns Superman and McFarlane Toys Dark Knight Returns Batman. And obviously the Mafex version of Superman is going to be much better than the McFarlane one, but I think the McFarlane one's pretty cool. I know a lot of people don't like the head sculpt. You know, I know it's not perfect or anything, but I think it's a pretty good figure, especially for the price. And same thing could be said for the Batman figure. They're not the best versions of the characters, but they're good versions and they're affordable. And then here we have them alongside the Mezco Green Arrow and the Mezco Dark Knight Returns Batman. And then next up we have them alongside two of my favorite Superman clones. On the left we have the Marvel Legends Gladiator. On the right we have the Marvel Legends Sentry. And I would be so down for Mafex to do both of these characters. And then here we have them alongside the Marvel Legends 20th Anniversary Captain America and the Marvel Legends 80th Anniversary Thor. And I'm really looking forward to the Mafex figures of these two characters. I know they're going to kill it, especially on Captain America, man. That's probably like the thing I'm most hyped up for right now. I can't wait until we see more images of it. As of right now, we've only seen like the early, you know, unpainted prototype or whatever, but I can't wait until they reveal what it actually looks like. And then of course here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And just in case anyone was curious, I wanted to do a couple of head swaps. So before we get into what looks good on the Mafex body, here's a quick look at the McFarlane Dark Knight Returns Superman with the Mafex Superman head. And a lot of people really dislike the head sculpt that this McFarlane figure came with. I don't hate it or anything, but, you know, he could have done a better job with it for sure. This head sculpt is definitely superior, but unfortunately, it is a little small. So if you want to make this work, you'll have to find a way to resize it, maybe like cast it and then resize it or something like that. It would also need to be repainted because the skin color doesn't really match. But it definitely looks better. If someone wanted to put in the work to make this head the right size and the right color, it could make this figure a lot better. But let's go ahead and get him out of here and see what looks good on the Mafex body. So right here we have the Mafex body, obviously, with the DC Essentials Superman head. And I think this looks okay. This isn't the best option that I have laid out here, but, you know, you can make this work if you want. Let's go ahead and change this out. And this doesn't pop on. It's held on there with some blue tack, and that's pretty much the case with all the heads that I have here. Next up, we have the NECA Superman head. And I think that looks pretty good. Oh yeah, I like that a lot actually. The skin tones match very well. The head is a pretty good size to go along with this, you know, the body that has like the big old Frank Miller proportions. But yeah, that head sculpt works. And then next up we have the Mezco Classic Superman head sculpt. And this one is also a little smaller, so you might have to bring it down a little lower just to make it work. But, you know, that's actually okay too. Again, it is a little on the small side, but it looks kind of cool. Okay, so that'll work. And then last but not least, and this is probably my favorite head swap actually. What we have here is the first McFarlane Toys Superman figure. I don't even remember exactly what it's called, but it's the first Superman that he put out. Oh, wait, maybe the animated series one might have been the first one he did. I don't know. It's one of the first Superman figures that he put out. I think this looks awesome. Look at that. That came out really dope. This is by far my favorite head sculpt. This head sculpt was basically the only good thing about that Superman figure. Nah, it was okay actually. I'm kind of hating on it a little more than I should right now. It wasn't a horrible figure, but the head sculpt was definitely the best part of it. But yeah, look at that. That'll work. The size looks good. The skin tones match, and it's just a really good looking Superman head sculpt. So if you wanted to make this work permanently, you'd have to, you know, do some work on the neck or on the peg or something. But yeah, I think that looks pretty damn good. And in typical Mafex fashion, they did give Superman a really good amount of articulation, especially for such a big character. You could definitely get him into some great dynamic poses, and he's a whole lot of fun to play with. And right out of the box, all the joints on mine felt very good, except for the right hip. I did have an issue with that. It's since been taken care of. I'll give you the details on that situation at the end of the video. But aside from that one issue, all the joints felt very good, and he's been a joy to play with, man. He's one of the most articulated Superman figures out there, and it's definitely one of the most fun Superman figures out there to pose around and mess with, you know? But let's go ahead and see what we have going on, starting off at the head. So he does have movement at the lower neck and at the upper neck, so using both of those, you can move his head around in all kinds of different directions. We get some nice tilt action going, so that's good. He could look down to about right there, which is really nice. And then he could look up to about right there, which is pretty good. But I wish he could look up just a little bit more, just to make it easier to get into those flight poses. As it is right now, if you want to get him into a good flight pose, you kind of have to get some help from the torso joints. But still, really nice flight poses are definitely achievable with this Superman. Look at that. Boom. Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely mission accomplished. One of the main objectives when it comes to Superman figures is making sure they could get into nice flight poses, and I think that this Superman is definitely capable of some really good ones. Boom, look at that. That is awesome. Yeah, so I'm very happy with his ability to get into some good flight poses. They killed it there. So good stuff at the head and the neck. And then for the torso, we do have a diaphragm cut and a ball joint at the waist. Using both of those, he could crunch forward to about right there, which is pretty good for such a big guy. He could go back to about right there, which is pretty nice. Most of the backward movement comes from the diaphragm cut, but he goes back quite a bit, so that's nice. And then we get some side-to-side action with the diaphragm cut and the waist joint kind of working together to make all that happen. And then he can swivel at the diaphragm cut, and he could also swivel at the waist. So really good movement here at the torso, and it really allows for some great dynamic type of poses, you know. I don't know if that's the best pose, but you know, like if he's coming down to fight Batman, you could really get some dynamic stuff going with this torso situation. And then for the arms, we do have those awesome butterfly type of joints that we're used to seeing from Mafex. So that way you could get his arm cocked way back. There we go. Boom. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the way that Mafex does their their shoulder joints. So there we go. Good stuff there. And you could get his arm in front of him a really good amount for those like punching poses. Get some help from the torso to get it going. Boom, look at that. Yeah, so really good stuff at the shoulder joints. And then obviously his arm could go all the way around. Get his arm straightened out there. Let's get him fixed up a little bit. So yeah, his arm is able to go all the way around, which is nice. They could come up, damn, they could come up a really good amount with his big old shoulders. Still able to get his arms way up to the side. So that's nice. And then he does have an upper bicep swivel. He has double jointed elbows that get a really good bend. Bam, there we go. At the wrist, we have a ball joint that also has a hinge in there, so you could hinge it and swivel it, and you could also swivel just at the hand itself. And then for the legs, we do have drop down hips that drop down to about right there, and they could kick forward to about right there. So not the best amount, but definitely enough for Superman. And then he could kick out to the side to about right there, which again, it's pretty good for Superman. I don't know how often he's kicking armored Batman in the face, but if he needs to, it's possible, so that's good. And then what else do we have going on here? It could only go back to about right there because of the way they designed the this area, you know. And then he does have an upper thigh swivel that's hidden in there, and I love the way they do that as well, and we get some really good range without having to look at it, so that's nice. And then he does have double jointed knees that bend to about right there. Again, really good for such a big guy. At the foot, we have ball joints that swivel. They hinge forward like that. They come up to right there. They have rocking ankle action. Then he does have a toe hinge. And I love the way they do the ankles too, because they have a little piece here that covers the ball joint on this side. So I love that. It all looks very good and functions very well. But yeah, man, this Superman figure is definitely one of the best Superman figures I've ever had the pleasure of actually playing with, you know. It's one of the most fun figures. You could do so much with it. The cape gets out of the way nicely. The torso looks good. The arms are good. Everything about the way this figure moves is extremely well done. So yeah, they killed it with the articulation. Alrighty, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, I absolutely love this figure. I honestly think it's one of the best Mafex figures that they've ever done. It's one of the best Superman figures you could ever buy. And in my opinion, this thing is pretty damn close to perfect. The only thing I think they could have done better is made the lining of the cape near the neck a little bit cleaner. It's a little rough right there, but aside from that, this figure is pretty much like everything that you'd want out of a Mafex Dark Knight Returns Superman. Like, if you envision your perfect version of this figure from that company, this is what you'd get. I think they executed it like as well as they could. I can't really think of anything they could have done better except for that whole cape situation. The rest of the cape is some of the best soft goods that we've seen from Mafex. So they just killed it. Like, there's not much else to say. This is one of the best figures of the year, in my opinion. Accessories are a little light, but it's definitely enough for the character. But as far as the figure itself, it's a piece of art, in my opinion. It's a beautiful figure, perfectly sculpted, some really great articulation, and you know, as far as the QC goes, I do have like a little situation with mine. So my Superman had a problem with the hip. At first, like, the leg popped off as soon as I took him out of the box, and I popped it right back on, and it was fine. But the more I messed with the figure, the looser the leg got, and it just kept popping off on me, and it was fucking driving me crazy because I love the figure so much, and it just had that one issue. And I would ask a bunch of other people that also got the figure if they were having the same issue, and it seemed like nobody else was. So, you know, fortunately, I was like, okay, so it's just on my copy. That definitely sucks, but, you know, let me see what I could do. So I contacted Hobby Link Japan to see if they could help me out. And, you know, I've never dealt with this company, so this is like the first figure I ever purchased from them, so I really wasn't sure how it was going to go down. And, you know, since I figured it was kind of a long shot, I asked them just to send me a replacement leg. I told them the situation, and I was like, if you guys could just hook me up with the leg, I'll be happy. In retrospect, I probably could have got a a complete, like, replacement of the whole figure, because it was so easy to get the new leg from them. They were like, just show us some pictures of what's going on, and then we'll send you some replacement parts. And then boom, just like that, within a very short amount of time, I got the replacement leg, I popped it on Superman, and he was as good as new. I've had zero problems. The leg hasn't popped off one time since I popped it back on. And, you know, it was very obvious that the first leg that I had was just defective. So, you know, in my opinion, it's as good as new. The situation got fixed, and I'm completely happy. So as soon as I got the new leg, within 5 minutes, I was back to enjoying this figure, because honestly, aside from that one issue, this thing was such a pleasant experience. All the joints felt so good to pose around, everything moved smoothly, and the figure is just amazing. So, you know, I'm glad that situation got worked out. I do feel like I have to mention it here just in case anyone else has a similar experience. I would say don't hesitate to contact the folks that you bought it from and try to get it worked out, especially if it's one of these, like, you know, import companies. I've only had good experiences with that type of situation so far, so it's cool. But anyways, I really, really love this figure, and I don't see, like, Mafex really topping this year, you know. Last year, I think their best figure was Gambit. This year, I think this might be their best figure. They absolutely killed it, and I just love this. I just love this Superman. I'm so happy with it. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. If you're not aware, I do go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and every Friday at 7 p.m. So come through. Let's talk about toys and get weird. Thank you very much. Peace.
To a white bunny mochi, a neon green turtle mochi, and a dark pink elephant mochi.